and welcome back to the Friendly Circle Berlin. And we are delighted to welcome you all to Somatic Mondays, this wonderful series that Jan has offered to do for us once a month. It'll typically be on the third Monday of each month, but I'll put out you'll find all the details on our website. So today, Jan will continue with her work that she's been doing on the Felt Sense Polyvagal Model, FSPM, which is something that Jan has developed over the course of her career, which has spanned 40 plus years now. And Jan, the Felt Sense Polyvagal Model is based on two somatic practices: Neuroception, our body's safety monitor, and Interoception, our inner sensing of lived experience. And so this session continues our exploration of neuroception and introduces a somatic practice called felt sensing, focusing, that facilitates the introceptive process of sensing into the body. And Jan will discuss the 6 steps of focusing today. And Jan, I'm going to turn it over to you now. Jan, we so appreciate you and all this wonderful work that you've developed, and it's so helpful. So this is really great to have you with us. Thanks, Jan.
Thank you so much, Patrick. I'm thoroughly enjoying our connection. It's really wonderful. I feel very at home here. And it's exciting for me to have this opportunity to really be with people that are curious and wanting to learn different ways of understanding how bodies work and how dissociation and addiction, other trauma responses happen in the body, how they live in the body. And there's so much new information coming out now with polyvagal theory and with advances in neuroscience, so we can actually see what's going on in the body and in the brain. And all of that is wonderful. And we're going to kind of review a little bit of neuroception because these Mondays do kind of build on each other, right? We build on each of the new things that we're working with, because what's so important about this is this word titration, right? It's being able to gently introduce the idea of slowing things down in the body and beginning to turn your attention somewhere down into the center of the body, right? And that's a very tricky thing to do when you're really stuck in that addictive cycle. Because the whole idea then in that addictive cycle is to stay away from the center of the body, to stay away from our intense feeling, because it's been a very painful place to be. You know, when you think about it, people don't get into addictive behaviors when life is really great, right? That doesn't really make sense. So there's a struggle there. There's a way in which, from a body perspective, from the wisdom of the body, we're saying that bodies know how to keep us safe by staying out of intense feeling. Because intense, painful feeling is too great. So if we just understand what's going on in addiction from the head down, we can use models like it's an illness or it's a disorder, or, really these horrible moralistic models as well. But when we bring in the wisdom of the body, we say, oh, it's actually our body's way of helping us to survive through the nervous system, right? So last time we talked about neuroception. This is such a really radical idea. We're not saying addiction is not harmful, because it does harm us and it harms the people around us. But we are saying that there's a purpose for it. And that purpose comes from understanding how bodies work. And because we've lived in this very top-down world, in the Western world, we've really dismissed the wisdom of the body. And so this is about bringing back our birthright. The beautiful way that bodies have of protecting themselves through things like numbing and dissociation when it's unbearable. It's just too much. And so we're understanding this as an adaptive response. And that's what we talked about quite a bit last time in terms of this process of neuroception. So neuroception, remember, is Steve Porges' word. Steve Porges created polyvagal theory, and he made up this word because there wasn't one, because we don't talk a lot about body wisdom. And this word is a way of understanding the process in the body that's unconscious, so we don't think about it. But this process shifts us back and forth into different states in the nervous system in order to help us to survive. So that's the neuroceptive piece. And we touched last week on the different sort of states in the nervous system and those blended states in the nervous system, because bodies move around a lot. And so we're not going to stay in one pure state all the time. Things are going to be happening around us, and our bodies shift and move to accommodate to that. So I want to start by, we'll go into a screen share, just review a little bit around neuroception and then the 7Fs, the model, that graphic model that I created to help us kind of orient to where we are in the body. Then we'll touch on interoceptive processes. And then I'm going to do with you the Felt Sense Polyvagal grounding practice, which is in my new book, 20 Embodied Practices. And you can have the slides afterwards, so you'll see also the description of the practice. Then we'll go through and read the 6 steps of focusing, just to begin to get an idea. This is where we titrate. You know, we want to take a lot of care in awakening the body, right? So some of you will feel okay, you know, coming down into the body. You've been doing this for a while. Wonderful. Others of you won't at all. It will be really like not okay. Although there's a curiosity there, you wouldn't be here on a Somatic Monday. So that curiosity is beautiful. And we want to respect the care that we need to take when we're awakening the body by just starting off in reading what those steps are about and beginning to make sense out of them up here in our heads, which is a great way to start. It's the way we start a lot of the book study groups as well. So do I have permission to share? All right, so here we are. That's polyvagal model. You know, I refuse to get all uptight about this stuff. It's like, just let yourself settle in. It is actually a really powerful example of how the body, right, will shift into these different states to help us. So shifting into that sympathetic flight fight state, because there's a feeling of like a little bit of panicky, what are we going to do? So there you go. So then you may be noticing now that the heart rate starts to settle a little bit more. A very interesting fact, they've done studies where folks who have a lot of trauma in their lives, so a lot of unresolved issues, when something like that happens, or say you hear a really loud noise and you jump and you get triggered, for example, for folks who have a strong history of trauma, it can take many minutes for the heart to begin to settle, the heart rate to slow down again, much more than if you're not carrying a lot of trauma in your life. So this really shows us how powerful the nervous system is, right? And how exhausting it is to be carrying around a lot of trauma and using dissociation and addiction as a way of being able to cope and numb, or to activate like crazy with adrenaline, as Patrick was saying, because we're trying to be able to manage the intensity of emotion and physical sensation that happens in the body. Okay, so the next slide. So we're shifting the paradigm here, right? We're talking about how we're moving from just appreciating the mind in this top down or the brain kind of way into really honoring the way in which the mind and the body are connected. And that there is this beautiful pathway between the brain and the body that is the vagus nerve, right? In polyvagal theory. And how in that pathway, we're bringing up information from the organs in the body all the time. The brainstem is receiving this information. So here we are in this place of really shifting the paradigm in terms of how we understand trauma and addiction through a more embodied lens. So next slide. So we wouldn't say that these responses to trauma are maladaptive. We would say the responses are actually adaptive responses in really maladaptive environments. Because it doesn't make sense that our responses are maladaptive when our bodies are designed to survive, right? But it does make sense that the environments can be maladaptive because we create those. So listening to the body is really what this approach is all about. And that means we have to learn how to be able to pause. Because you can't really listen to what's going on inside unless you can slow things down, right? You have to be able to slow things down to quieten the mind, to be able to really connect with what's going on inside. So next slide. So we're talking about neuroception here. We discussed this last time, the body's safety monitor, right? And so it is this very unconscious process. It's a bit like, the part of your brain, the brainstem is this most unsophisticated part of the brain, kind of like your dog. We talked about how, dogs will sense danger, but we can also let them know, like we can let our own nervous system know it's okay. It's okay. It's a trigger. We can work through this. So as we do that, as we remind ourselves, it's okay, I can bear this, I can stay here, I can be present because I'm coming into myself. I'm coming back into my own body. And as we do this, we're literally rewiring those neural pathways in the brain. Okay, next slide. So here's the 7 F's that we discussed last time. And we'll just briefly go over these again, because then we're going to take this inside if you feel safe enough, or just to listen to the practice. So down at the bottom, we've got flock. I think if you go to the next slide, Derek, and you click on flock, and the next, probably it's not going to work in this version, so don't worry about it. Just stay with the last one. So down on the bottom is flock, and this is where the ventral branch of the vagus lives, right? This is the upper, above the diaphragm and up through the face. This is the place where we are activated in the nervous system when we feel safe enough, right? So just checking there and noticing. We notice our heart rate when that ventral branch of the vagus is online and activated. Our heart's settling and feeling fairly calm, but we can also get kind of excited in that place as well, as long as we can kind of feel our feet on the ground. Then we move up into flight fight on the right. That's the sympathetic branch that pumps adrenaline and cortisol. It mobilizes us when we're unsafe. We move over to the left side of fold and collapse. That's the dorsal branch that Steve Porges named. That's the part of the vagus, that shuts us down into dissociation when things are too much. And then we have these blended states that we talked about. So fun fired up is a place in our bodies where we feel grounded enough, but we've also got a bit of spice, a bit of fight flight in there, a bit of adrenaline going, because maybe we're giving a talk or we're playing. In play, often we're kind of moving around a lot, we're mobilized. But if we feel that sense of solidity, of grounding, then we're in fun, fired up. And flowing is another beautiful blended state that often we can move into in focusing, where we feel grounded and also really safe to be still in that part of the dorsal vagus where we can really zone out a little bit and enjoy it. Right? And then the addictive place up at the top, here's that blending, we call it fixate freeze. And here's the place where we're shifting back and forth between that sympathetic anxiety state maybe, and then shutting down into often depression in fold and collapse. And addictions, remember, are state regulation strategies that shift us back and forth in between those two states. And then down in the center, we call this favoring others for survival. This is a very important nervous system state. It's what people call often appeasement, where we're aware of what we're doing. So we've got some grounded ventral energy there, but there's a lot of like shifting and managing in order to please people that have power over us. And in marginalized groups, you see much more addiction, which makes sense, right? Because we're not living in a state that feels safe enough in the body. Okay, so next slide, and we'll just go over that and then on to the next one. So we're moving in today into interoception. So this is the sensing of awareness of bodily sensations and feelings in the body, right? That way in which we can connect in a deeper down kind of way inside. And often we talk about this in terms of kind of intuition. You have a kind of feeling in your gut about something not being quite right. So Porges suggests that along with these other senses like vision and hearing and smell and taste and touch, we have another sense called interoception, connecting in and down with what's happening inside. And so interoception is this process that provides the signal to the brain of the changes in physiological state. And this process of interoception can be conscious. In contrast, neuroception is unconscious. Okay, let's keep going. It'll get clearer as we go. So interoceptive practices that are fairly well known these days in our culture, things like breath work, mindfulness meditation, movement and dance therapy, yoga, prayer. Focusing is another one that we're going to work with today. Singing is another one. Chanting, somatic therapies, so many ways now in our culture that we're really starting to bring in these interoceptive practices. And this is where focusing lives. Focusing is a way of really tapping into what's going on inside, but more importantly, how to work with problems that you're experiencing in your life, in your body. This is Gendlin's gift to the world. Okay, next slide. So the Felt Sense Polyvagal grounding practice is one that I created. It's kind of the basic practice in the model that brings together in the body neuroception. So we're working with where am I right now in my nervous system, and interoception. What is this place inside? Can I find the whole felt sense of a place inside my body? How does my body feel about this particular topic or issue or problem? So what we're going to do in the grounding practice, because we always start with resourcing, right? We don't start by, working with focusing and going right into a problem. We go there eventually, but to start with, we want to resource a place in the body that feels grounded, or you could use the word safe enough, or you could say it just feels okay. It's like when you're in this place in your body, You can think of an experience. You can be in the experience you're in right now, or you may find one. So this is what we're going to do in the practice. And then notice how it feels in your body when you feel okay. What's it actually like there inside when you feel okay? So we're going to start with this today. And I want you to just settle yourselves in your chair, or you might want to stand up. A lot of people really like to stand up. There is a whole group of people called whole body focusers, and they stand up and they often move a lot when they focus. So you just kind of invite your body to get a sense of how you'd like to be with all of this today. And then if you're sitting, you want to just make yourself really comfortable, have your back supported in the chair. You want to really support the body when you're slowing things down a little bit. And I want you to really notice, how does it feel inside when I suggest that we slow things down a little bit? Just get a sense of how that feels inside. And if you notice yourself getting a little bit uncomfortable, then really welcome that. That's fine. That's really good information to know about where you are in your body right now. And so you might want to just read along, because there will be some slides with a reading of the practice. So you can just read it and listen to the words, and listen to my voice. You can notice what's in the room around you. If it feels really scary, you could just turn the volume down for a while. And I'm really serious about that. There are reasons why bodies are afraid to slow down. So if you have a body that's afraid to slow down right now, we are really honoring that. And just lower the volume for a while till you see me come back again. Yeah. All right. So slowing things down. And then let's move to the next slide. Okay, so this is the foundational practice where we're going to bring together interoception with felt sensing and neuroception with rewiring your brain. So I'm inviting you to just settle yourself in your chair and putting down anything on your lap. And if it feels okay, you can soften your gaze, or you could find something in the room to bring your attention to. And then you could close your eyes and just feeling your feet on the floor. And remember how the earth holds us up. And we're all here together, making a beautiful, safe enough space with Friendly Circle Berlin. And just feeling into that energy and slowly bringing your attention somewhere down into the center of your body. And then saying hello to your inside self. And you might just want to take a nice breath there. And we go to the next slide. And then being with your body from the inside, just notice how you're holding yourself. How's your body carrying you around? Notice your muscles and your breath. And your limbs, your legs, the muscles in your legs and your arms. And notice the quality of these muscles. Are they tight? Kind of anxious and wound up? Maybe certain muscles are. Often across the neck is tight. Maybe a kind of a flight, fight, sympathetic response here of constriction in the body, getting ready to move. Or you might notice that you feel kind of loose and comfortable and relaxed in a more grounded kind of way in your body. Muscles aren't too tight, they're not too loose, they just feel right. This would be a ventral vagus place of feeling okay. Or you may find that the muscles in your legs and your arms across your shoulders feel heavy and lethargic, weighted down, like depressed and sad, and a kind of the dorsal branch of the vagus nerve shutting us down. It just feels like too much. This is where we just want to stay in bed. And this is the place that a lot of addictive behaviors take us to bring some kind of numbing relief. So it's very important to be gentle with this place. This is the branch of the vagus that Steve Porges named dissociation. Now, bodies also have lots of blending in those states. So you might find that you feel grounded enough in ventral and you're kind of fired up, a little bit anxious maybe, or excited. That's a beautiful place to be, fun and fired up. It's where I feel now when I'm presenting to folks. It's fun, it's a bit exciting and stimulating, but I also feel grounded. Or you may find that you're feeling pretty grounded, and there's also a kind of quality of dorsal of not shutting down because there's safety there, but it's more of a slowing down. Feeling really safe to be still in your body. This is where focusing and meditation live. Or you may be aware that there is this way in which you're living in that addictive kind of trauma feedback loop of shifting back and forth between flight, fight, anxiety, and then doing whatever it is that you've learned to do to help yourself to shift down into numbing. And then back again. So we want to be very gentle with this place. Just acknowledging that it's a real struggle in there. It's a locked pattern that we're working on moving out of unlocking. And it takes time. So now I invite you to just imagine or remember a time where you felt okay. You might be looking at a sunset. You might be playing with a grandchild. You might be watering your garden, holding somebody that you love. You might be feeling some kind of bittersweet feeling, missing somebody, but knowing that there's something so good there too. Or you might find this kind of okay place remembering when you did something well at work or at school, as a parent. It doesn't have to be any big thing, it's just a moment. And notice if it feels okay. Notice where that moment lives in your body. Where is that moment in your body? And see if you can find it. If your body is speaking to you and you can find that place in your body, just put a hand where you feel it. You might not, and that's fine too. But if you do, it helps us to really ground this felt sense in the body when we put our hand here. Wherever that is, for me, it's my kind of my upper chest where I feel a really nice sense of grounding. And you may just have a little moment of flicker of it that's hard to hold on to, and that's okay too. We're just awakening this place that feels just okay. Nothing fancy. And then if you can find that place, just a little moment, you might find a word or an image, or it might be a movement in your body, a gesture, something that is what we call a handle in focusing, step 3. A way of capturing the quality of this place. And for whatever reason today, my handle is thick pink. So just notice what comes there for you. It might be an image. Often bodies speak to us in imagery. And often they sound like poetry. We're here in the right hemisphere of the brain. It's really creative, whole big picture part of the brain. Just go to slide 3. Yeah. Maybe this place is in nature for you, by a lake or a river. And then notice here, are you alone in this place or are you with somebody? And is it recent in your life, or maybe it's when you were a small little person, a little child? So we're just allowing a felt sense of grounding to form in the body. And you know, Gendlin would always say, nothing has to happen. Nothing has to happen. It's just a little invitation. But your body will decide. Using your senses too, the smells. A smell can take us to a moment that feels good. The smell of your grandmother baking pie or bread. The smell of your favorite perfume. The smell of a little baby when you wash them in the bath. Smell is very potent in the brain. And we can use beautiful smells to really heal trauma. The smell of lavender. Oh, so just breathing into this place. And remember, if it feels like too much, of course, you just open your eyes, come back to the room. You could stay with us and listen to my voice, look at the other people, orient back. And then the next slide, and we're just going to start to slowly bring awareness back to the room. Back to your feet on the floor. And really welcoming whatever happened for you there, whatever that was in that experience. It was all really important to know. Gendlin would say, the most uncomfortable places are the most important to know because they really give us so much information about how we're living our lives. And then just slowly opening your eyes and maybe take a nice breath, come back to see everybody, even though we're in these little boxes. You can scroll down and say hello to people. So nice to see familiar faces. And we'll come back to the big room in a minute. But I just want to go, I'm going to go over my time a little bit today because we missed because of that stupid weird thing with my PowerPoint. Okay, so is everybody back? It's hard for me to see. You might want to just share in the chat too. How was that for you? Okay. So let's go to the next slide. We're just going to review those 6 steps. So here are the 6 steps of focusing. I'm actually in the middle of rebranding all of my materials. This is still the old one, but it's the same material, the same content. So the felt sense, we work with through these kinds of avenues in, through thoughts and feelings and sensations in the body and memories, right? We just worked with a memory in the felt sense. Maybe just share in the chat, because I'd love to see this afterwards. It would be helpful for me to see how many folks felt as though they could come down into the body. You can just share that a little bit, that was comfortable for you to go there, to find a place that you could put your hand there in the body. That would be really valuable information for me to have. And if Patrick, you would share that chat with me after. So we'll just name the steps and we'll go through them. So clearing a space was Gendlin's step that he actually added in focusing after he went to Japan. He was really curious when he realized more and more, began to learn more and more about meditation, that clearing a space is really a mindfulness step in focusing. So focusing isn't mindfulness, because in focusing, we're wanting to go into a problem. And a lot of what mindfulness about is getting the right distance from the problem. So we do that, but focusing is designed to work with issues in your life. You can do many things with it, like we just got the felt sense of a grounded place, but originally Gendlin and Carl Rogers, a very famous American psychologist, they were really interested in what is it that produces change for people in therapy. So they interviewed people, therapists and clients, who both reported positive outcomes. And what they found was so valuable. What they found was that people who could go into the body, who could connect with somatic wisdom, were people who were doing well in therapy. So Gendlin created these 6 steps to help people find their way in, right? So clearing a space, there's a certain way that we do it. It's like any kind of mindfulness practice, though. Then the next one is finding a felt sense. So we just did that. Getting a handle, we just did. Then we focus in partnerships. So your partner would resonate that handle back and forth with you to get what feels just right in the body in terms of what the image is or what the words are. And then asking is a way of really exploring what's going on in the body, really bringing out that wisdom of the body through what we call the felt shift. And we'll get to that. And then we always welcome what came, especially what came that was uncomfortable. So next slide. So here we focus in partnerships, we focus in dyads or triads. So you can see how in dyads, it works very nicely in terms of in the 12-step program with sponsoring, we have a similar thing, although it's different in that you're equals in the relationship. There isn't like a sponsor quality, but it's very much based on those dyads. And we can also focus in triads where the third person is a witness. Okay, next slide. We're very careful around boundaries, the way that 12-step groups are too, in terms of how you set up your focusing partnership, making sure there's equal time, and that you have a regular time to meet, all of those kinds of things that are important in a practice. And next slide. Yeah, so we have consistency in the format. Next slide. So here's clearing a space. So we start with, I want to just share with you, you probably can't see this, I'm in a little box, I'll share it later, but Gendlin's little focusing book, he published this way back in 1978. It's a brilliant little book that goes through all of the steps of focusing. I'll show it to you when we come back. So we ask, how are you in there? And what's coming between you and feeling fine? And this is the question that really helps us to get to the issues in our life. So we don't answer, we just let what comes in your body do the answering. And then we don't go into a lot about it. So we might say, we answer in the sense that we'd say, oh, there's all that about, now I have to go figure out this PowerPoint thing that happened because I'm pretty useless without it these days. So my brain is sort of thinking about that. So what I want to do in clearing space is take all of that issue and find a way to put it over here to the side so that it doesn't come in and intrude on me being present here with you. So we go through each of those concerns and we name them, but we don't go down into them. We find a way, and it's amazing how people can find ways of putting these things to the side. So mindfulness is a nice practice of being able to do this as well. Okay, the next slide. Then we go to, so here's the mindfulness practice of clearing a space in step 1, and the next slide. So then we go into step 2, finding a felt sense. So today, in starting off carefully, we went to finding a felt sense of grounding. But as you move along in the process of focusing and you feel safe enough, that's crucial, to be able to come into the body with a problem. Because remember, addictions keep you out of the body with the problem. So we're doing the opposite here. We're coming into the body. How does your body carry this problem? So we focus on one of those issues, right? What do you sense in your body when you recall the whole of that problem? So sensing into the murky kind of discomfort or the unclear body sense of it. And so that's where today we went to the grounded place to be able to find that for a resource. Because then when you start to go into the difficult places, you can find that resource in the body, put your hand there, and come back into the resource. This is titrating. And this is what people can learn to do amazingly well, because this is how bodies are designed to heal. We've just missed the boat on that because we emphasize too much about cognition. Cognition is great, but it's not the whole story about bodies. Okay, next slide. So in focusing, we're working with what we don't already know. We're working with something new that comes inside. So getting the handle, what's the quality of that felt sense? We looked for, remember, a word or a phrase or an image, and a quality word that might fit better, or an image that might fit better. Often you see this in dreams, right? Gendlin worked a lot with dreams because dreams are also kind of that focusing world where bodies speak to us through metaphors. Next slide. So the resonating is a real skill. Resonating, saying the image or the word for the handle, and matching it, checking to see if thick pink is really right. Maybe it's thick, cloudy, more of a kind of red color. So your partner would say that back to you. And getting that right is a wonderful feeling in the body. It starts to feel like you're really getting into what you know is real for you. Okay, next slide. And then asking, we have so many ways of asking. We're not going to go in there today. That's something that we can do next time. This is really an important piece around being able to open it up more. What's the worst of it? What does it need? And we don't ask up here in the head. We ask, we drop the question down into the center of the body. Next slide. And then we welcome. We work with it for a while, often just maybe 15 or 20 minutes each person. And we really welcome what came, especially the stuff that was hard to be with. Next slide. I just want to share with you the shift, and then we'll come back to the group. So Gendlin says here, one effect of the focusing process is to bring hidden bits of personal knowledge up to the level of conscious awareness. This isn't the most important effect. The body shift, the change in a felt sense, is the heart of the process. You feel better mainly because your body feels better, more free, more released. The whole body is alive in a less constricted way. You've localized a problem that had previously made your whole body feel bad. And immediately freeing feeling lets you know there is a body shift. It's the body having moved toward a solution. So even now, when we go into more of that grounded felt sense, you may have noticed that your body relaxed a little bit more. That we would call a felt shift. That relaxing and opening from either feeling too heavy or too constricted. That opening is a felt shift in the body. And this is what Gendlin picked up on and recognized, that people were feeling better when they were able to connect in there and pause. And especially if you're doing it with a partner who can really help you to feel compassion towards yourself. The body lets you know that this feels like the medicine, and it opens, and ventral energy flows in the body. Next slide. And here's an example of some body cards. So next time, maybe next time, we should have people download the body cards. We can send out a link. And so you see here in the one body card of a focusing session, this person moved from, they had this sense in their body, the one whole half of their body was in a shutdown, and the other half of their body felt like fire, like a flight fight state. And that's how it was for them in their body. They had this beautiful focusing session with their partner as they opened what was uncomfortable and they explored it together with compassion. The body really likes that. We're just so yearning to be heard with safety, right? And so when we can give the body these experiences of being held and being heard with safety, the body will open. And this is the felt shift into this ventral kind of place. And you see this beautiful yellow flock of ventral energy. Next slide. So here's an example of a body card of one of my students who shared her felt shift. And you see this powerful example of lots of shut down dorsal black energy of heavy grief in her gut as she's moving into focusing. And this is the issue she wants to work with. She's a climate change activist, and she's really struggling right now with what's happening in the world. And you can see this in the blackness in the belly, right in the belly. As she opens it and brings in and resources some good energy in there, some that comes from being held by her partner. She may also bring in and resource a grounding practice that she can hold on to in her body to help with this grief. She moves through the process with a beautiful felt shift in the upper part and the lower part of the body. You see in her feet down into the earth. And her handle for this is a mother's roar of love. So there's a very powerful exchange that happens here inside. It's working with the grief and with the joy of life. Next slide. And here we see an example of a body card of somebody who's really struggling with food addiction. And in the left-hand side, she comes in and starts her focusing session. She doesn't have a shift, a felt shift. She ends up having a kind of addictive shift. So she starts in a really dorsal place. You see the black cage of the dorsal branch of the vagus of the shutting down, locked in, and feeling very isolated, watching TV, very heavy inside her body. She starts to focus, and up comes this experience of binging, and she gets excited. You see the sympathetic energy in her head and down through the body, the excitement that comes with the binge, the butterflies, the flush, the light rush. But then there's this way in which she starts to drop down into dorsal again on the right, isolated, alone, binging in this addictive kind of crash of sadness. So this is what her body looks like in a focusing session where she's working with a binge and she doesn't have a felt shift into a ventral state. But having that place of being held there invites the ventral energy. So we don't always have a felt shift in focusing. It depends on what's going on in the body. And here you see a very powerful representation of the trauma feedback loop of addiction in the body. Next slide. So Steve Porges, I talked with him a lot about focusing. And of course, he read both my books. And so he says feelings of safety are not equivalent to objective measurements of safety, which could pragmatically be defined as the removal of threat. Feeling safe is more akin to the felt sense described by Eugene Gendlin. Although Gendlin, as a philosopher and psychologist, was not physiologically oriented, he described a felt sense and shift as not just a mental experience, but also a physical one. Right? The felt shift is a physical shift in the body. You know when it's happened because you feel a release and you feel better. And the way you see things, it changes, right? So what I put together in the Felt Sense Polyvagal Model was that shift that happens, that we call in focusing, is a shift in the autonomic nervous system state into ventral. And I came to that because I'd been focusing for so long and was a student of Gendlin's for a long, long time, decades. And we didn't talk about the nervous system, although he actually did a couple of studies of the autonomic nervous system because he could see the signs, the shapes of the body. But I wish that, he was alive now and I could talk to him about it. But he was aware that there was this way in which the nervous system was also playing a large role in the focusing process. So I think maybe, what's the next slide? Maybe we can stop now, come back. Just one more then. Although we're usually not aware of the cues that trigger neuroception, right? Neuroception, the unconscious jump that we have, we tend to be aware of the physiological shift, so interoception. So sometimes we experience this shift as feelings in our gut or heart, or as an intuition that the context is dangerous. So this interoceptive process that is, we tend to be more aware of, right? I think we should come back because that was a long time. Subsequently, we'll go deeper down into those steps and explore them more. As we go along, we can explore more about titration, about how you use different questions and ways of being able to back up and distance from something that feels too intense to be with, or to sometimes come closer to something that's feeling, it's there, but you're numbing it a lot. So you can see how this is so important in terms of being able to work with trauma responses, right? Like dissociating. It helps you to be able to be more present with what is really uncomfortable without shifting into addictive processes. Well, let's just slowly, if it feels right, to just turn your attention inwards, or just notice something in the room, just slowing things down. And then just notice where you're feeling some kind of sensation or some place your body is bringing your attention to right now in this moment. And then wherever that is, we just, together in this beautiful group, bring in some beautiful ventral energy, the energy of safety and connection. Yeah, and then slowly coming back. And I hope you keep reading and listening and coming into the body as you feel safe enough. And I'll see you next month.